reading on 3. 1, 2, 3. Label reading. All right. All right. So I have here with me today. Would you mind introducing yourself, Russ?
Russ Parker.
Yep. And how did we meet?
What do you mean?
Why are you?
Oh, I'm here because I'm trying to figure out how to correct my diet, because over years, diet's always been important to me, but not the nuances, the importance of like kind of looking into actually what I'm eating, and just the turnaround of what we're going to talk about today, about just reading labels, getting away from just the macros and actually looking into what the ingredients are.
Cool. Yep. And then Cara.
I'm Cara Davis, and I met Paul through the CrossFit gym, and I just wanted to dial in my diet and make things easier, make my diet work better for me.
Simplify things, yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is reading labels, because we all went to a shopping tour together, and it's just always interesting to me to just see the realizations that happen when we figure out what it is that we're actually looking for versus what it was that we were doing before, which it's hard for me to even remember how I read labels before, like learning what to look for. Mm-hmm. But it's just fascinating to make that transition. So I thought we could just like have a discussion around it, and we'll see what happens. And if we don't like this, then we don't have to put it out there, okay? So before learning what we've learned together, like how did we read labels, or did we read labels? What did we look for in the past?
I looked for, calories. Also, I eventually started looking at protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And I got away from looking for quality and ingredients that are more natural, less processed. And I would still try to make sure I'm not eating anything too sugary. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, so, and that's part of the macros, right? Like,
yeah.
Like the carbs, fats, proteins type thing, calories. Mm-hmm. How did that impact your decisions when you were buying something? So if you're looking at that and
I tried to eat mostly natural foods, but I would allow myself to eat a lot more processed foods than I should be.
Well, I mean, like say when you're looking at those macros, the calories, the fats, like how would that impact or influence the decisions you made, or do you remember how that?
It's hard to remember.
I know. This is what I was thinking about on the way here, was when I used to look at that too, and I realized I don't even think I made a decision based on that. I was just looking at it because I felt like I was supposed to look at it. Right, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's got this many calories, and
Well,
so what about you? What were you?
Well, for me, because it was just recently that I was doing that. Like, yeah, and I was just making sure that the carb and the net carbs like worked out to where I was like, okay, I'm still eating lower carb type deal, not realizing what artificial sweeteners were actually being put into it, to where like, the net carbs were probably low, but still had a lot of junk in it that wasn't good for me still.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
How it impacted my decision was just really, okay, net carbs look good, then it's a good product.
Yeah.
Vice actually deep diving into what it is.
Into what the ingredients were, right? So yeah, I was on the way over here. So I think we're all on the same page then. We were kind of looking at calories, the macros, proteins, fats, carbs. And when I was coming over, I was just thinking, man, when I read labels, what was I looking at? Because I see people do it all the time. Like, they turn it around, and I'm just curious watching people in the grocery store, like, what are they looking at? Like, they're looking at a Campbell's condensed soup can, which we probably wouldn't purchase in the first place. So then I'm like, so what are they looking for, right? I don't remember what I was looking for. I think I just went through the motions of looking at it, thinking I was doing something good because I was looking at it, but I really didn't know what I was looking for, because I wasn't looking at ingredients either. So anything else that we want to say about like our old way of doing things?
I don't know, maybe looking at serving sizes.
Serving sizes, yes. Mm-hmm. And the calories associated with it, maybe the sugar and stuff like that. Okay, cool. All right, I think that's where most people are, or a lot of people are. Like they're looking more at the macros, the calories, the fats, usually the sugars, how much sugar's in there and stuff like that. And there really isn't much of an emphasis on actual ingredients. Mm-hmm. So what did we learn together as far as what it is that we're actually looking for? Anybody?
just like the way you put it out there, real food, less ingredients. More, and the ingredients that are in there are actually natural. They're healthier, and they don't meet all these requirements. And I'm like, oh wow, like, you know, like we're talking about skim milk. Like I was like, all right, you know, I'm gonna drink the silk milk, because everyone just assumes that that's healthier milk. And then you actually showed me on the label, and I was like, oh wow, like there's actually stuff in this that's not
good for you.
Not good.
So based on your old way of doing things, you're looking at it, and the calories, I guess, check out. The sugar, I guess, checks out, right? So therefore, it must be okay. And now, looking at it the way that we are, it's like, okay, so the ingredients don't check out. So that's making my decision about not consuming it or not purchasing it, right?
Right.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, making sure I eat real foods that come from real natural sources, and what to avoid in the ingredients. Of course, a shorter list is going to be better.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think one of the first things that we have on our little swaps handout is like the obvious things to look for are, if it says artificial anything, artificial sweetener, artificial colors, like that's a warning flag, right? Simple list of ingredients. So even if the ingredients check out, if we see a long, huge list of things, like that's already got to be a little bit suspect. But then we kind of dive into what is it that we're looking to avoid. So can we summarize like what that is as far as ingredients go? Like what is it that we're looking to avoid based on your memory?
The number one thing would be the highly processed oils.
Yes.
Would be number one. Gluten products, wheat, and artificial sweeteners, colors.
Yep. Now, why the oils? Do you remember why? The highly processed plant-based oils, such as, what are some examples?
Grapeseed oil, canola oil, sunflower, most sunflower oils, soybean oil. Yeah, there's quite a big list.
Those are the big ones we'll see. Sometimes safflower oil, corn oil, you don't see that much, but I mean, that would be one of them too. Vegetable oil, but you don't really see that much. What is the what were you gonna say?
I was amazed at how much of those oils are in a lot of products.
Yes, they're in everything. Yes. It's so yeah.
Like
it's ubiquitous. Isn't that a good word? Ubiquitous.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, they're in everything, and as we know now, it's probably one of the biggest problems of the modern American, or the modern diet, right? Because those things that we're looking to avoid are in everything, but most people don't know that that's what they need to be avoiding, and they're consuming those things. Now, do we remember what is problematic about those highly processed plant-based oils?
Well, they're basically, you're putting chemicals in your body. They've been even masked to where you can't smell those chemicals. So when you're eating them, they taste normal, or
neutral.
Yeah, neutral, but when they get into your body doesn't know how to use them, and it can even turn things around where your body won't be using fat for energy.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll be carb dependent because those oils they're not natural fat. So you're not eating the fat that your body needs, and your body's not going to use it. Yeah. It's not going to then recognize the fat.
Yeah,
that's natural.
So these highly processed plant-based oils, because they're oil fats, they're displacing your ability to consume the right fats and use the right fats. Yes. Is what you're saying. Yeah. And then because you can't use the right fats, that makes you carb dependent, because there's only one other place to get energy from. If you can't use fats, you gotta. And so, in some ways, it's going to make you not just carb dependent, but craving carbs. And a lot of people don't understand that that's where a lot of their unintentional cravings that they feel like they should have some willpower against come from, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you're craving carbs, you are carb dependent.
That's right.
But if you're not, you're using fat.
Cool. What else? So is there anything else problematic about the highly processed plant-based oils that we remember? It's okay. I put you on the spot even when we have our private sessions.
Well, I could imagine that if you're putting chemicals in your body, it could just have a lot more issues. It could affect your organs. It's just toxic to the body. Almost kind of poisonous.
Yeah. It is. They're highly reactive. Go ahead.
It's not nutritious. Like, if you're eating for nutrition, it's just not giving
There's no nutritional value.
Yeah, it's not serving us any purpose, whether it
Dude,
be for energy or anything like
it,
that.
Man. Or you're there. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's probably effects that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the one thing we probably acknowledge. But things that we do know is it clogs up the energy creation system in the mitochondria. It's the wrong kind of fats because they're very toxic. They're probably packaged. A lot of times they'll use some solvents to process them, and like you said, some deodorizers, some things to take the smell away. So who knows what makes it into our body as far as those things go. And then like we just did the sun exposure talk. Do y'all remember what happens with them as far as like sun exposure and skin and stuff like that? What?
Well, it can make you burn easier.
Burn easier, yeah, because most of our cell membranes are made up of a fatty acid lipid-based layer. And so if we're building ourselves with the right traditional fats and fatty acids, like we have a very strong cell membrane, strong tissues, strong organs, strong skin. But if we don't, then we have flimsy cells, flimsy tissues, flimsy skin. And because these highly processed oils are very reactive, when they get exposed to radiation from the sun, they react even more. So, I mean, there's all kinds of downstream effects that happen that are not good. Cool. All right. So
I always wondered how our ancestors were able to survive some of these things without sunscreen, and they ate more natural foods and had some natural protective.
That's right. And they were outside all the time, exposed to it all the time. So yeah, there's so many things we can talk about there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you were able to get it from the talk, but I noticed just a dramatic difference in when I transitioned to real food, my ability to be in the sun and not burn. Like I can't even remember the last time I burned and peeled. I'll get red if I'm out there all day, but like it's crazy how your protection is enhanced for sure. All right, cool. Anything else we want to say about the highly processed plant-based oils, aside from that is our number one deal breaker, I would say, right? Probably more problematic than wheat. Okay. And then you'd mention grains and wheat specifically is probably what we're going to see on labels, right? Any thoughts or comments on why that might be problematic?
Causes inflammation, which is becoming pretty chronic these days with a lot of people. And I don't think people know where it comes from. And if we eliminated gluten and the grains and the plants, those types of plants, then it would help a lot with this major issue. It affects a lot of people. Did
we notice, like personally, like when we take wheat out, did we notice feeling different, better, anything changing?
I mean, not me personally. I didn't eat a lot of wheat prior to.
Before?
So
yeah, same.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's only ever been like a now and then, just.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody's different. Some people are more tolerant. And
I do. I mean, if I have anything wheat-based, like I just got little patches of eczema that pop up and digestive issues, bloating, like all kinds of different things. So, all right, cool. And then other, I think, kind of obvious things, but maybe not the specific names of them, would be the artificial sweeteners. So you said, a lot of times things that look low sugar, low carb based are compensated with artificial sweeteners, and we have a specific list, that we recommend people just kind of look at, and you get familiar with them over time. The main ones are going to be aspartame, sucralose, and then saccharin. But those are, extremely problematic because they're just artificial, and they probably have very similar impacts on your cravings. That like your body kind of anticipates sweet because it's getting a sweet taste, but it doesn't necessarily actually get the sweet that's associated with it. And then we see a lot of different health problems that come from that over time. And then the artificial colors. I think that's our biggest one. So if we had to summarize what it is that we kind of learned from this experience, some takeaways, is there anything that comes to mind?
That you're not sacrificing, I don't know how to say it, it's good meals. You're still getting flavor, probably more natural flavor, and you're not sacrificing anything by looking and getting away from these.
Yeah.
This is definitely what I've learned in the past couple of weeks.
Well, and I think what you're saying is, too, we have alternatives for all the things that we think we have to give up.
Correct.
They're just made with better ingredients.
Correct.
That was one of the big takeaways, right? We're like, oh, shit, we can't do tortillas. Oh, no, we can do tortillas. They just have to be the right tortillas. So, yeah, you're not lacking or missing anything. It's just that you're more aware of what it's made of, like
Correct.
The actual ingredients. Okay, cool. What else?
I almost like having more limited options because then I'm not eating everything, and then the things that I'm eating are really satiating.
Yeah. Yeah, your decisions are made for you. In some ways, I think
Yeah.
limited decisions are great because it's like, all right, this is my lane. This is the things I can do. I don't have to worry about all this other stuff. Yeah. So I guess big takeaways, if I'm hearing you guys right, is before we learned the right info, what we were looking for was we probably weren't sure what we were looking for, but in general, we were looking at the big numbers, the macros, the carbs, and things like that. What we discussed was what's more important is the toxicity of the food, which means we want to look at the ingredients and scrutinize the ingredients. We're not trying to avoid sugar at all costs or carbs at all costs. We want the right kind of sugars, the right ingredients, and it is useful maybe if you see a large amount of sugar per serving in something, that would help you maybe in your mind moderate how much you consume of that thing, but we're not trying to avoid sugar. What's more important is just looking past the front of the package and looking past the macro information, the calories, fats, carbs, proteins, and really digging into what is it actually made of, because that determines whether it's toxic or helpful or something like that.
Yeah, and you
Or
won't have the
appropriate.
cravings that you're used to having.
If you start to eliminate this stuff, and we all experience it, and we're eating really good.
Yeah. I mean, I've only been doing this for like a week and a half, 2 weeks now, and I can honestly say that I feel better than when I was before.
Cool.
So.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Anything else? So you were thinking about something with the carbs.
Yeah.
The reading the sugar thing,
Yeah.
because you had gone extreme.
Yeah, so I was experimenting with all these ideas and going low carb, but then maybe going a little too low carb, and then staying at low carb and continuing to stay at low carb, and then my energy levels were not very high.
Yeah.
And I had to increase, but maybe just with berries, other fruits, beets, and some of the snack foods that have SHT approved ingredients, but they're not real food. But it still helps with energy levels.
Yeah. So Kara was extreme in the beginning. Like, she went freaking hardcore, 0 carb, fasting for 3 days. Like, and but as an athlete, and just I think as just modern humans under stress, I think low carb for most people is not necessary. It's not ideal, and most of us are going to feel a little bit better with some carbs.
Yeah,
But
I kind of wanted to explore the boundaries though, and just see how far I could take it, and realize,
you feel better with a little bit. Yeah. So that was one of the things we talked about in the shopping tour, was that we're not trying to avoid sugar at all costs, because first of all, that's almost impossible. Like, I can't even tell you how many people are looking for like a sugar-free bacon, and it's like they almost don't exist, although there are some, because sugar is a curing agent, right? But the goal is not to avoid sugar. Most of us are going to do better with a little bit of carbs as long as we moderate it. The goal is to avoid toxic ingredients. That's the main priority, I think. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here.
thank you.
And that's it. All right. Questions, comments, feedback, snide remarks, send it our way, and y'all keep it real. Thank y'all.